So a couple of weeks ago, we started placing these grid lines. And as you notice, our building has a bit of an odd shape to it, and we don't necessarily need to have our grid lines going everywhere. So the first thing would be when we have our grid line over here, I'm just going to ungroup this. Ungroup. And we can copy this grid line. I might have an extra grid here, whatever your system is. But then we actually have another grid line down here. And so within Revit, there's a couple things we can do. First is our 3D extents. So if I move all these grid lines down, they're going to all move together. And actually, I probably should just ungroup all of these. So once you have your grid lines set, you can ungroup them. And when I move these now, and I actually put them at the same line, they'll connect. And so now when I move them, they're going to all move together because now they're kind of locked together. But say, for example, I don't really want this grid line to go all the way up here because it's really high. Like we only need it to go to here. So what we can do is we can unlock it here and we can physically drag it down. And so if you remember back in the Revit class, we did that building that resembles our Project 1 in Studio. So we did that, what do you call it, the mixed use building. And so if you remember, you had a few grids that only project so far in your building, right? So we had that like BX or something like that, and then you had like 10X or something. And so what that does is from a 3D extents perspective, when I look at this elevation over here, I'm not going to see that other grid, right? Or at least I don't think I will. Oh, let me check. Am I seeing it? I am seeing it. And that's because of this. So anyways, let me do this. Let me cut a section. It has to do with our view range. So we're seeing all the way over there. So we are seeing it. But if I cut here and I look this way, I actually don't see my D grid. And the reason why I'm not seeing my D grid is our 3D extents stop right here. And so if I take this boundary and I drag it to here, and I go back to my section, I'm going to see my D grid. So there's another way of doing this, and the other way is called 2D extents. And so what I could do is I could keep the 3D extents here, but say if I just want to keep the grid up there, but I don't want to physically show it, I can actually click this 3D button. And now what I can do is I can drag this grid line up all the way up to the top here. So it looks like it's in line and it looks very proper, but you can see how this extra bubble is down here. So when we look at this still, let me go back and see if I can change that. So if I move this up now, it won't show grid line D in that view because I only adjusted the 2D extents. The 3D extents are still where I left them, but physically in that level 1, I changed it so they look proper. So another methodology of this is, say for example, you only need 3x on the first floor. So what I could do here is I could drop the, oh, sorry, I gotta unlock this. If I could drop this below my level 2, and then I can change this so it's up to here. So now if I go to my level 2, I don't see the E grid. But if I go to my level 1, I see the E grid. So that's another way of doing that. So maybe like on the first floor, like your mixed use building you did in Project 2 in Revit class or Project 1 in Studio, how you only had that 10X and that BX grid, they were only on the first floor. After the first floor, they didn't extend up. So that's how you would kind of do that kind of thing. You do the 3D and the 2D extents to get that to work. So hopefully that makes sense.